This is gonna be the last video in the series, so first of all, thank you so much for watching this course and taking the time to learn and watch the whole thing. I hope it was somehow useful to you. I certainly had a great time creating it, so thank you so much for watching. Uh, the thing that we are going to do in this episode, in this video, sorry, is we're going to add some final touches to the game. First of all, we want to add a delay between player 1 and player 2, especially because when playing against the AI, it's just instantly you drop a piece and immediately there is another one in the board, and sometimes you can't see quite clearly what the move was. And finally, to wrap it up, we are going to add a visual indicator when a player wins. We're going to make the winning pieces flash repeatedly. So starting with the delay, open up the component file and let's head up around here, right in the opening script tag, and we're going to create a small utility function that is going to allow us to pause the execution of the script and give a little delay. We are going to call this function sleep, and we are going to take in the amount of milliseconds we want to pause. And all we are going to do here is return a new promise, and this promise takes in an executable or an executor callback, and it's going to look like this. The callback function receives one parameter, which is the function that is going to execute when the promise is resolved. So we're going to call this parameter resolve. Now the function body is just going to set a timeout with set timeout, and this set timeout function also expects a callback function and how many seconds is going to wait before calling that function. So we are going to pass resolve and the number of milliseconds that we received in the sleep function. And I just noticed I missed an R here, and there you go. And that's it for the sleep function. Now let's go ahead and use it. We are going to go to the take turn method, and instead of calling this AI turn here, we are going to put this in a delay. So let's say sleep, and we are going to sleep for 1 second, which is 1000 milliseconds. And since this is a promise, we can chain a then call, and this then expects a callback function that is going to be executed. So it's going to be a function that is going to call the AI turn, like so. And I think that's it. Let's save it and try it out. I'm going to drop a piece and 1 second passes, and there you go. Player 2 drops another, I drop one, another second, and I think it's a lot better now. It gives you a second to think what you're going to do, and it doesn't really matter because I know I'm not going to win, or maybe I am, who knows. It's already winding up for this one. Let's see. It's going to block me right here. I knew it. Okay, maybe here. Let's drop one here. Not this time. And let's block it here. I don't know what he's doing, but I know I want this, so let's oh man, I was close. At least I lasted a little longer than before. Okay, so that's with the delay. Now I want to add the flashing of the pieces that made up the winning move. But before that, we are going to solve a problem that we introduced when we added a delay between player 1 and player 2. And that problem is that when there is a delay, I can actually go ahead and click again on that column and drop a piece for player 2. I'm going to click on this column and drop a piece here for player 1, which is going to be red, but immediately click again and I will drop a piece here for player 2. Take a look. So I hope you noticed that I dropped this piece and this one, and then the computer actually took 2 turns in a row. He dropped this one and this one here. So let's solve that problem. All we have to do is come to the take turn method, and in this if here we are going to check that the game is not over, that we have a valid column selected, and that this turn equals this player 1. So if it's not our turn, we cannot play. Save that and try it again. I'm going to try to drop 2 pieces in a row, but it's not going to let me. There I clicked like 3 times in the same column and it didn't allow me to play. Now that player 2 has played on its own, I can keep going. Okay, with that problem out of the way, we can move on to highlighting the pieces. To make things simple, I'm going to create a function that looks a lot like this one, isWinningMove. But instead of returning true when I find a winning move, I'm actually going to return all of those pieces that conform the winning move. So I am just going to take this whole function, copy it, and paste it below. Let's go back to the top, change its name to get winning pieces, and here I'm going to return an array of objects, and each object is going to represent a row and column combination for each piece, like this. In here the first object is going to be row R col C, and following this same pattern up here, the second object will be row R and col C plus 1. Third one will be C plus 2, and the fourth C plus 3. And we are going to do the same for all of the returns. So this is the rows. Now we move to the columns. It's going to be R, then R minus 1. C is going to be the same in all cases. So let's fix that. Minus 1, R minus 2, and R minus 3. That takes care of the columns. Now the diagonals upward. C is going to add 1 each time, and R minus 1, R minus 2, R minus 3, and finally downward diagonals. It's going to be R plus 1, C plus 1, R plus 2, C plus 2, and R plus 3, C plus 3. Next, I'm going to go to the application, the component file, sorry, and in the template, I am going to give each circle its unique ID so that I can refer to it later. So just before the class, we can do colon ID, and I already know the row index and the column index, so we can use those to give a unique ID. So in here, inside the double quotes, let's open and close single quotes and say circle dash, and this first number is going to be the row, so plus row index, then another plus and single quotes dash, and next is the column index. So each circle is going to have an ID like circle dash 0 dash 0 or circle dash 0-1, etc. Now what I'm going to do is add some CSS classes that are going to make each piece pulse or flash. So let's come to the style, and right before the end style tag, let's add a new class and let's call it circle, and make sure you don't add the dot at the beginning, so just circle, then dot red dot flash. And in here we are going to use an animation. So animation, and this takes several parameters. The first one is the animation name. We are going to use an animation called pulse red. This animation doesn't exist yet, but we are going to create it in just a second. The next parameter is the duration of the animation, and we are going to use, let's say, 1.2 seconds. The next parameter is the curve of the animation. Let's use, for example, is in out. And finally, we just have to specify what's the loop that we want. In this case, we just want to loop over and over, so we can use infinite. Okay, now let's create one for the yellow pieces. We can just copy this one, paste it below. Instead of red, we use yellow, and the animation name will be pulse yellow. Now we just have to create these two animations. We are going to do it right below. And to create an animation, we just have to use the add keyframes and then the identifier for the animation, which is going to be pulse red. And in here, we're going to define the steps of the animation. For example, at 0%, we are going to have a fill color of hashtag D50000. So that's going to be the red color. Then I'm going to copy this and paste it below, and at 50% of the animation I want to dim this red color to an almost white. So I'm going to use FF8F8F, so it's almost a pink color. And finally, at 100% of the animation we are going to go back to red. Now let's do the yellow one. I'm going to copy this, change the identifier to pulse yellow, and then change the colors. I think the yellow color was D400, and then we are going to brighten that color to an almost white, and that color code is FFFDAB. So it's a very bright yellow color. And then at 100% we go back to the same yellow, DA400. Now the next thing that we need is a function that is going to allow us to add these classes, red flash or yellow flash, to each individual piece that is on the winning move. So let's go up to our component code over here and maybe add it just below this sleep function over here. So let's create a function and let's call it highlight pieces. And here we are going to take an array of pieces that we are going to highlight. So we can say pieces for each piece. So for each piece, and remember that this piece over here is actually an object that is going to have a row and a column. So we can just get the ID of the circle that we want to highlight with document get element by ID, and then we pass the ID, which is circle dash and then piece.row and another dash piece.call. And in that element we are going to add a class, and we can do that with class list.add. And here we just have to pass the name of the class that we want to add to that element, which is going to be flash. And finally, to actually highlight the pieces, we are going to come to the component here and go down to the created method, and just below it we are going to create another method called updated. This is going to be called by VueJS when the component has actually been completely updated on screen. So here is where we want to modify the classes of each circle. So we're going to say if this game over, then we are going to need the color of who won the game. So let color equals, and actually I think we have a line for this color selection up here in take turn, so I'm just going to copy that one and paste it here. Now we get the winning pieces with let pieces equals connect for get winning pieces, and we pass the board and the color, and finally we just have to call highlight pieces and pass in the list of pieces that we want to highlight. And we are missing a comma here, and there you go. And I think that should do it. So let's save this, make sure there are no errors, and let's go to the browser. Let's run a quick game. Not even gonna try to win, as if that matters. We both know he's gonna beat me, but I'm gonna let him. Okay, so seems to be a problem. I don't see the highlight. So let's see what the problem is. Cannot read property class list of null. Huh. I don't know. Let's see the code. So this piece right here is saying that whatever came before it is null. So the name might be wrong in the tag up here. Where's the ID? Oh, there it is. I mixed up the letters. Circle. Like that. Okay, that should fix it. Save, and let's go back to the browser and give it another try. Let's close this, and oh, we didn't even have to try again. The pieces are now flashing once we fix that ID. Great, now we know it's working. And that'll do it for the course. But before we go, I want to leave you with a challenge. Actually, two challenges. Challenge number one will be to add some sort of UI component up here so we can switch between playing against the computer or playing against another person. So one player, two player mode. And obviously you'll have to connect that UI with the logic in the take turn method. And challenge number two, as you saw in previous videos, we have two different AIs. One that is very easy to beat, where the computer simply selects the next best column, and another one that is very challenging, which uses the minimax algorithm. So add another UI component so we can switch between easy and hard mode, and in code make the decision of which method to use for the AI. I'll make sure to leave a link of the GitHub repo for the completed project so that you can compare your solution with mine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this course, and I'll see you in the next one.